Uh. Knocked his ass out and kissed him on the cheek. He fucked up just by thinking I was sweet. I run the city, might have thought I wore some cleats. You never heard someone like this up on the beat. Tutti fruity, the booty duty is jury duty. Moody foodies, jacuzzis is filled with bougie booties. All of this money don't know how to count it, man. I think I need a computer. I can't live in beat, man. I live at the funeral. I got no need for a shooter. I'm getting bigger. Do you wanna reconsider? Lost control of a killer. I'm getting bigger. The whole label's drug dealers, If you build it, homie, they will come. If you turning up to save me some. Drop down to get your ego on. I don't care for boring people. I think you're lame. I only politic with goons while out the frame. Better take another shot, bitch. It's not a game. I'll beat it out the frame. Baraka waka flock of flame. I am a Benjamin. You know that I have a problem with acting a fool. I don't talk to police. I know nothing. I swear to God that shit is not true. I'm a barbarian, hopping adrenaline, looking for something to do. I'm remarkable. I'm on a roll. If you need education, I'll take you to school. I'm getting bigger. Do you wanna reconsider? Lost control of a killer. I'm getting bigger. Wake up, brush off, get clean, look good. Put on 2 chains, flexing, but what's up? So fly, 2C, be you, look good. I win, you lose, fuck you, what's up? I don't care for boring people. I think you're lame. I only politic with goons while out the frame. Better take another shot, bitch. It's not a game. I'll beat it out the frame. Baraka waka flock of flame. Yeah, I'm the shit. Now I think I will go catch a body. Fuck your bitch. And then I will go take a potty. No teriyaki, ya rock Kawasaki. If you're go you can hop in the shotty. She popping the molly. We're copping the squatty. Oh, cookie, loving the body. I'm getting bigger. Do you wanna reconsider? Lost control of a killer. I'm getting bigger. Sing this. 1 time. 2 time. 3 time. Hey.
What is happening, you guys? And welcome to another episode of the Fiends Tailgate. I am your host, El Capitan, and tonight on a tailgate party that never seems to stop, we got a special guest. We got Brian Cat NFL, formerly of the Finsiders. You guys know him. You guys love him. I would say Brian, draft expert. I mean, that's where I've been going to get my draft information since forever. And now that I have a show and network of my own, who else better to bring on as the draft is around the yonder? But guys, before we get going, make sure you guys are hitting the like button, subscribing if you're new, if you're watching on Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, wherever you're at. Subscribe over here on YouTube. And check out all the great content and peoples we got in this month. We got myself with the Fins Tailgate. We got Lou the Rabbit Dolphin. We got color commentary coming at you. Dolphins DTA debriefs. Late night exhale with Ali doing that in the broken takes. Cash App, Venmo, the Fins Tailgate. Make sure you guys are hitting those links in the description. We also have links in the description for our partners over at Fanatics.
New seasons, new gear. Show the world what it means to be a fan in 100% authentic gear. Fanatics. Officially licensed everything.
Also got links in the description for our great gear. Make sure you guys are checking it out. Got all kinds of good stuff. Wait till you guys see the scope of all of the gear that we got. And new stuff that we got. I was just checking it all out. HB in the back. working on a litany of fire stuff. Coffee mugs for everybody. You're gonna want to get some. They're like $12, something like that. Everybody be rocking a TFTG or an Ali coffee mug here soon, or a Lou, or a DTA, or a color. We're gonna have it everywhere. Also, guys, make sure to check out our friends at Doobie. Doobie Energy. Get your energy from Doobie. And then also our friends over at Backroom Collections. If you use offer code TFTG, you'll get 10% off of some of their cool stuff. I just tweeted something. I think it was today or yesterday. So check on my Twitter feed. They just got some new canvas things out with Waddle and Tyreek. It's pretty dope. It's freaking nice. It's pretty. So check that out. I've also got Ali hanging in the backstage. He's going to come up here when he feels like it's time and whenever he's ready to. I know Ali is super involved in draft stuff too. Shout out to everybody in chat. That 70s show, California Scott, Jay, John, Finn's Fanatic, 305, Greg. Shout out to all the members, all the mods, Ken, Bahana, Robert. Shout out to the members in the building. I'm not going to waste any more time leaving Brian in the backstage. So I'm going to go ahead and bring my mans up here right now. What is going on, Brian?
Hey, what's going on, man?
Hey, dude. That was the new intro. It's a little intense, but it's time. It was time to roll it out. We've been playing with some things, and now that YouTube's done some changing with some of their music, like you can get songs and do revenue sharing and stuff. So might be changing that up a couple times just to keep it fun.
Yeah, so I've heard. And I've been out of the loop for a little while here as far as getting on the air. But what happened to the purple blazer?
I still got the perps.
Okay,
I still got the perps.
good.
Oh yeah. I still got the perps. I still got it. I got two now. So I got the
You've
OG
upgraded.
cloth. Yeah, I got the OG cloth, and then I got the leather / actually pleather one. So, keeping it. And I've been looking around for a purple like a real suit one, but they're hard to find. I found some, but none, not the one I'm looking for. When it like I want that old 1950s, 1960s looking one, maybe even like a little pinstripe in it or something like that, super raggedy looking. I would like that one. That would be cool. So
Yeah, you've got to go with that if you're going to do it. You've definitely got to do it big. If you're going purple, which is my wife's favorite color, you've got to do it big.
Oh. Yeah, I noticed ever since I rolled out the purple jacket, it seems like I see it everywhere, but it's kind of like, when you go and you buy like a car or you're looking to buy a car, then you see that car driving everywhere around. You ever notice that?
I hate cars. But
you hate cars.
I have a 2014 Nissan Maxima, and I love that car because it does not, for the last 6 years, has not caused me any problems. A car is something that gets from one place to another, and if it doesn't break down, I'm a happy man. So if you want draft knowledge, I'm your guy. But if you want car knowledge, I have best friends that they say, go out into the parking lot and can you and I cannot locate their car because I don't ever pay attention to what they drive.
Got you. It's one of those things it just doesn't even register. I don't care. They're like, they're excited about it. I get it. I'm not a car person either. So, but like, if you ever shop for a new vehicle and you're checking different vehicles, and you're like, and then you find one you like and you're thinking about buying it, you'll freaking see that thing driving everywhere. You never noticed it before, but now you'll notice it everywhere. So
I can relate to that part. Yeah.
So Ali's in the back. I'm gonna pull Ali up. Ali's super big on the draft stuff too, Brian. So he'll listen. I gotta be honest. I don't watch as much college as I used to. I've been a Hurricanes fan, so it's been a hard, lifetime. You know what I'm saying? So, and I was telling Ali backstage, I'm like, to me, and I'll watch like the big games and stuff like that, like everyone else, the big matchups and stuff, but I don't get in the nitty gritty like you do for sure. You watch some obscure college stuff, but it's great because you pick up on like, those special talents that a team either it's featured a couple games or he's their go-to guy, or you're able to recognize this guy is not tapped into at this smaller school at all. He's just a freak. So
yeah, I'll say too that and Ollie may have more insight into the smaller schools than I do right now. I try to get as much small school tape as I can in the months leading up to the draft after there's an understanding of where those small school guys are. Really, I'm looking at I have like the first 150 to 200 guys in the draft and really zero in on them, make sure I get good tape on them, good understanding of them. And my process is I've got 3 TVs over here. And when I have off time, I have a YouTube deck and I have at least 3 to 5 games for each one. So I
Nice.
try to go down and make sure that I just have a good understanding of each player. And the combine just happened, so now you take those computer numbers and add those into them, so that helps when a guy runs a 4.26 instead of a 4.45 like a DJ Turner did for Michigan, a cornerback.
There you go. Yeah, it's the astute plugging in of the numbers and stuff. Speaking of free time, how's it with the baby around? I know you guys had the baby. How old's the baby now?
Baby is he's going to be 3 here, believe it or not.
Holy God.
Soon we've got number 2 on the way. So
oh, it's number 2's on the way. That's what it
Yeah.
is. Yeah, that's what it is. Oh,
Yeah,
I thought you
that's-
had. Okay,
Yeah,
I
I
was
made
like,
an announcement
dang,
about
dude,
that,
the
yeah.
3 years just passed me by real quick. Holy cow!
and I could say publicly that 2 is it. There's
Yeah, I got 2. I got 2.
2's a good number.
Great number. Great number. I see all my friends having 3 and 4. And listen, I'm swamped with what I got going on. We do travel friggin' Brazilian jiu-jitsu competitions with both kids. So like that's some big stuff. You'd be surprised once a month you're traveling to a different city in the state to go do something. I couldn't imagine having to, oh man, it's so much. But we
Awesome.
enjoy it. We have a good time. We have a good time. So let's delve in. We got Ali here with us. So real quick to everybody who doesn't know, the Dolphins don't have a first round draft pick. They don't. They had 2 at the start. They traded 1 for Chubb, and the other one was forfeited because of the Tom Brady fiasco. So that's kind of is what it is, I guess. But we do have one in the second round. We do have one in the third. And actually, no, we got 2 in the third, 1 in the 6th, and 1 in the 7th. A couple of these other picks ended up going to other teams. The 5th rounder went to Jeff Wilson to the Niners this year. You guys remember us doing that. And then we also, with the Tyreek Hill trade, we lost our 4th and our 6th. So is what it is. I mean, I'll take Tyreek Hill and for what Jeff Wilson did for us for 5th round. I mean, Dolphins got to reinvest in Jeff Wilson, right? I mean, you don't give a team a 5th rounder and then let that guy leave. And he's made it very public that he wants to be here.
Yeah, and when you look at the combination of Mostert and Jeff Wilson last year, I mean, I think the biggest complaint I had about the running game is they didn't stick to it enough. And then if you take a look at a few of those games, like against the 49ers and against the Chargers, they completely abandoned the running game, and it ruined the game plan because they were just those defenses were dropping linebackers back. So I thought they did a very serviceable job. My question is, do you keep Mostert and Wilson and just bring them back? And if so, for how much? I mean, Mostert made what, $2 to $3 million last year. Jeff Wilson made a couple of million. If you bring that platoon back for $5 million a year for both of them, I think that's good value. But I also look at this, I look at this draft class too, and I love the running backs. And if you've got a 2nd rounder and 2/3, then you're probably, you can depend. I mean, not depend, but you can go into the draft thinking that you're going to be able to get one running back who may be very productive for you. When you just take a look at last year, I mean, in the 2nd round, Breece Hall for the Jets probably would have won Rookie of the Year if not for getting hurt. Kenny Walker, 1,200 total yards, was a stud. Damian Pierce for the Texans.
Dude, I wanted Damian Pierce so badly, bro. I was championing his name all summer.
Went mid 4th round. I couldn't believe it. And I mean, Isaiah Pacheco, 7th round, starting running back in the Super Bowl.
That's the kind of running back I think. If we do keep Mostert and Wilson, it's a Pacheco type younger guy. I could see us taking a shot on in the later rounds to infuse with young blood. If they don't sign these guys before the draft, or don't sign both of them, or only sign one, and they decide to use the third in there to grab one of these dudes that fell to them, or maybe the second, I don't know, maybe. I think they've made it pretty clear that they're going linebacker with that second pick. You know what I'm saying?
I think so too, and I honestly think that you're not going to sign both Wilson and Mostert. I think you sign one of the two. If it's Wilson, you could very well get another Raheem Mostert in the 3rd or 4th round. I mean, you could trade down into the 4th round and get a guy like Chase Brown. I've talked about Chase Brown a lot. I honestly think he's a younger and, the up-and-coming Raheem Mostert. He runs almost as fast, similar style, similar body. He was very impressive at the combine, to be honest.
And so was his brother at safety. I mean,
his brother's a good safety, too. That's true. That's a good point.
That's another position I think the Dolphins going to be looking at hard. To me, if a safety that they're in love with falls to them to the second pick, and that linebacker's not there, like if Simpson's there, I don't see how they pass him up with that second pick. I don't see him making it to the second round, honestly, but crazier things have happened. What's the dude from Iowa's name? Jack
Campbell.
Campbell.
That's an interesting name here, because I don't think Drew Sanders when you talk about off-ball linebackers, Drew Sanders from Arkansas, to me, is the one guy that is not going to be there at 51. And
yeah, I agree with that.
You're talking about somebody who's 6'5", 240, works out the way that he does. I mean, it can move all over a defense. He's going to be too valuable to not go in the top 50 picks. And then you've got Trenton Simpson, like you said, who's more of a finesse type of linebacker, but ran a 4.43. I mean, you can't lie with those computer numbers. Jack Campbell is that throwback old school linebacker who craves contact, which is rare for like a college football player, a high level performer at the inside linebacker position. So Campbell is the guy that, if you check Dolphins Twitter and the early stages of this, Campbell is the guy that everybody loves, because if you can have Campbell and Channing Tindall, if Tindall emerges and gets better in the middle of that defense at inside linebacker, and then
they're fitting gaps.
Yeah, they're fitting gaps, and along the edge you've got Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb. Man, you've got in Vic Fangio's 3-4 defense, you have so much size, so much youth, and so much athleticism at those spots. So Campbell, if Campbell fell to 51, I would be all about it at this point in the draft process.
Yeah, I would have to agree. The first pick, it has to be one of those defensive positions, and I really think it is going to be linebacker. Let me ask you this, Brian, since we're on, talking about Fangio's defense and, what we're going to see. What position do you think is more important to Fangio's defense? The corner position or not necessarily corner, but let's say somewhere in the secondary or the middle linebacker? Which one do you think is more important?
I'm going to give you a crazy answer here, and it's going to be strong safety. And here's why I say that is I love Brandon Jones. He is, to me, one of the best blitzing strong safeties in the NFL. It's a shame that he went down last year with the season-ending injury. I expect him to come back. But in this type of defense, the difference between what we've seen over the last 3 or 4 years and Vic Fangio's is that they play almost exclusively a deep two safety look, which is going to have more responsibility for the safety. So I don't know if it's free agency or the draft. It is probably going to have to be free agency if the Dolphins can move enough dollars around. If they can nail that position and team, let's say Juan Thornhill from the Chiefs with Javon Holland, and then you have Brandon Jones as your third safety, who's going to play 300 snaps a year and is going to play it in that role that substitute
down in the
for
box,
linebacker,
Yeah, that's what that jack roll. Yeah, I could definitely see him as lining up even in a linebacker position to just give the look post pre-snap.
So
Yeah.
I love those signings, those free agent signings that improve two positions at one time. So if you pair Holland with Juan Thornhill, who is a very good coverage safety, is a playmaking safety, but can also do the down to down stuff and not tip off opposing offenses on those pre-snap looks. Fantastic if you can do that, and also have Brandon Jones as your third safety, which compensates somewhat for the linebacker spot because you're going to have him down in the box, like you said.
That's
Yeah,
gonna be nice.
I think Captain has said this before that you think that Fangio may come out with, he's saying that he may have some new coverage schemes for us. Something where it's like you have like these safeties playing as a hybrid linebacker. I
Yeah.
agree with that. That you could very well see that in this defense.
Yeah, and especially if you can put 3 safeties on the field and have them rotating in the nickel, down in the linebacker position, and you don't know in a series which one of these guys is going to be the second safety or the other, one of those two high safeties. That would really, I couldn't imagine you being even the most tenured quarterback looking back there and seeing 2 different safeties. How do you not get baited into taking a shot and lose a Javon Holland down in the box, who we didn't get a lot of blitzing from, but we know he's good at it. So if they dial it up, how does it, even an Aaron Rodgers think, oh my God, they don't have Javon on the field and get like excited sometimes? You just can't. So it's gonna happen. I think Fangio, it's why the Poyer signing has been such a hot item, because we all know, Poyer over there, it hurts the division. They're going to let him walk anyhow, but bringing him here, I think he's still got 2 good years in him. And depending on the money, it might be the perfect marriage. You know what I'm saying? I don't think he's looking to do anybody any favors, but, maybe we can get him on the low.
And look, the Dolphins are in a 2-year window as far as I'm concerned. I don't mean that in a depressing way. We've got to absolutely win now, but look, the talent is here now as far as the roster is concerned. I mean, because one of two things is going to happen. Tua Tagovailoa is going to ascend to a franchise quarterback permanently, and you're going to pay him $40 million a year, and then you're not going to be able to pay the other guys. And there is a window here in the next 2 years where you can pull that off. So normally I'm not somebody who advocates for, kicking the can down the road, restructuring contracts for Bradley Chubb and Tyreek Hill. In this case, I do, because if you can free up $40 million in cap room, I've got news for you. That's the only way you're going to compete in the AFC this year. You're not, I mean, next year you've got the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes, the Bengals with Joe Burrow, and the Bills with Josh Allen, and a few other potential surprises. Those things are not going to change unless there's a major, major injury. The Dolphins have to do something to stack everything to the top of the deck, and then from that point, try to go at them with everything they have. That's their only choice. Because in 10 years, guess what? Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, and Josh Allen, they're still going to be here in the AFC. They're not even going to be 37 yet.
Yeah, and you got to I mean, you said it perfectly, bro. And another name or two that could end up on that list is what's his name? Joe Burrow and God, I'm blanking on the kid from Jacksonville right now.
Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence. We don't know. Those guys could end up cementing themselves over that 10 years in the future as well. So you're right. It's either going to go one way or the other. What do the Dolphins do? Do they say this is our 2-year window with Tua, with the fourth year coming up, the 5th year option? He cements himself, they pay him, and then they got to do that whole dance. Or, and let's be real, the Dolphins, they've done good in drafting certain categories, but they've done terrible in others. Offensive line at the head of that. It has been the biggest blunder as far as drafting goes around here. So if they're going to spend some money, I say spend it there, because you can't draft it and you're never going to. But either way, they gotta. I agree. It's a 2-year perceptive window, maybe a 3rd year, depending on how they manipulate things. Something that would literally crash the franchise. But if you're talking about it not working out this year with Tua, just hypothetically, are they what do you do? You're almost done for. I mean, what free agent market quarterbacks could come in and take you that last year? What rookie quarterback's going to take you the full way? You know what I'm saying? I know there's a lot of good quarterbacks coming out next year, and I don't mean to look ahead, but none that I think are going to take it and win a Super Bowl as a rookie. Even with the talent on the football team, if that was the case, we're really in a tough spot as far as the franchise. We're shit or get off the pot right now, for lack of a better term.
Exactly right. And look, I'm a Dolphins fan, and I am not afraid to lose in 2025. I haven't seen I turned 40 this year. I haven't seen a playoff win since I was in high school. I'm not afraid to be bad in 2025. Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not scared. I'm not scared about what's happening 2 years from now. I'm more worried about today. What are you doing for me today?
Right.
Make something happen now to give me a perceptive answer. Because right now we're still in a lot of things with this team. There's a lot to love. A lot of great players, offensively and defensively. But
and then
we're not the Bengals. We're not the Bills. We're not fans of those teams that for them, they feel like they're definitely the Chiefs. They have an answer right now. They know what they're hanging their hat on for the next 10 years. We don't know if we've done a second rebuild in 10 years. You know what I'm saying? Not another rebuild, 2 more.
Yeah, and then when you also look at the contracts that are due in the next couple of years, I mean, believe it or not, this is going to be Jalen Waddle and Jalen Phillips and Javon Holland. This is going to be their 3rd year in the league. After this year, they're going to be going into their 4th year. We're going to be talking about,
5th-year options, extensions,
5th-year option, and things like that. So, yeah, the time to strike is now. And that's why I'm fine restructuring the contracts of Tyreek Hill and Bradley Chubb and creating $34 million in cap space. And I mean, I don't love the idea of restructuring Teron Armstead at $13 million, but if it creates that,
well, the Dolphins
I go back to I'm not afraid to lose in 2025.
No, I don't care about 2025, bro. We don't care about 2025. But hopefully 2025. Listen, if we win a Super Bowl this year, I won't ever worry about 2025. But if we are worrying about 2025, hopefully it's for reasons of not pivoting to figure out getting rid of people. Hopefully it's reasons to say we got it. We were that close and we're going to get it next year or something like that. Again, though, I need answers for that 10-year, but I don't worry about it at the same time. It's a hard situation to find ourselves as the Dolphins, because what are we trying to do? Are we trying to build a 10-year plan? Or are we trying to do the Rams model, which is fine, but it's kind of like they're doing half of everything all the time. I don't know.
If the Rams had lost that Super Bowl and then been a 5-win team, it would not have been worth it. But they went for it all. They got it all and then said, well, what are we going to do now? And the answer is not good for the Rams, but they got their main prize.
Yeah.
So it goes back to what you were saying before. If you win the Super Bowl, a couple of years down the road, you don't really care that much.
No, you don't care. Another thing to consider, let's get back on track. I'm not even going to go down that road. This year's draft, we got the 2nd round pick. It's the 51st pick in the draft. I think the Dolphins have made it pretty clear that they are interested in a linebacker with that pick. So some of the names we've been hearing, Sewell, the guy from Iowa, we've been hearing Simpson. What is there any other linebackers either one of you guys would feel comfortable with the Dolphins taking? That's realistic. Don't give me, somebody that definitely would be there.
Not at the 2nd round pick. Maybe later in the draft, I could look at a guy like Cam Jones, for example.
I like Cam Jones.
University of Indiana, I think he plays for.
Yeah.
He's a Big Ten linebacker, comes from the same conference as Jack Campbell.
He's a little smaller, though. He's 6'3", 225-ish or something like that. But he does play good. What do you think, Brian?
Somebody like Cam Jones, when you start getting into day 3, I think there's some value with players like that. The way I look at the off-ball linebacker position is Drew Sanders and Trenton Simpson are not going to be there at 51. Jack Campbell might be, and I would be very interested in him. And then I would not even consider anybody at 51 or anywhere in the third round. I think there's a huge drop off after Jack Campbell. And when you look at some of these guys here, too, Noah Sewell, I like this kind
that's
of a
the name
third.
that comes to mind, or the kid from Texas too.
Yeah, Demario Overshow is somebody that he's impressive in terms of his speed, but he is very high cut. He's all basically arms and legs, and at the point of attack, he's an absolute mess. He's a good prospect if you're looking for somebody if you're looking for a linebacker who needs to cover a lot of space. But I think in this Vic Fangio defense, the most important thing to remember is they're going to have to use 5 or 6 man fronts a lot to do what they need to do on a play to play basis, because the Vic Fangio defense typically commits 6 to the run and then drops 5, or commits 5 to the run and drops 6. So you need to have a lot of beef in that 5 or 6 on the at defensive tackle and linebacker. So you can't have any undersized rookie linebackers there, or else they're just going to get wiped out of the play. That's why Jack Campbell is so intriguing, because for a rookie out of Iowa who's played the highest levels of competition in college, 260 total tackles over the last 2 years, he loves point of attack. He's somebody that would be perfect for the Dolphins at 51.
Yeah, I'm liking that.
What
Middle linebacker, one of the only true middle linebackers coming in the draft, as far as playing. I mean, listen, we could talk. I dareth noteth mention the soon-to-be Hall of Famer in the name, but we haven't had a middle linebacker since that guy really. One to crow about for any long-term time. If we were to pick up somebody in the draft, that would be our perceptive answer for an off-ball, gap-fitting centerpiece, captain of the defense. Man, how great would that feel? That would be nice, especially a guy like that. I think Campbell's pretty good, dude. What do you think, Ollie?
I think Campbell is really the right pick here. I agree with that 100%. I think I agree with what Brian said. There is a huge drop-off. But then again, there are outliers that you can look at. Like, there's DeMarvarian Overshawn. I'm sorry if I didn't say his first name correctly. There's him. There's also Dan Henley, which I didn't really know very much about until I started watching tape. He's a guy I kind of like. What do you think? I think he's kind of like that borderline second round, third round kind of guy. What do you think about that, Brian?
Yeah, Dan Henley is an intriguing guy, because when he went to the Senior Bowl, I watched a lot of him in those running back linebacker drills, and that drill is set up for the linebacker to fail. So because in that drill, the quarterback knows what's being thrown, the running back knows what's being thrown, and a running back anyway is more athletic than a linebacker, so he's naturally going to try to beat him. Every linebacker got smoked except for Deion Henley, and he ran a 4.54 at 6'1", 230 pounds, which is pretty good size for a linebacker. So he's somebody that if he fell down to the third round for the Dolphins, I would be all over, because I think he has legitimate coverage ability, even though coverage skills are not as valued, and covering the whole field are not as valued in the Vic Fangio defense among linebackers as it was in the Brian Flores type of defense, or the Josh Boyer type of defense. But I think he's a really good prospect. Third round would take him all day.
Yeah, he's to play quarterback and wide receiver too. So like, he's definitely got that eye to figure out and stuff. And he's certainly a great. I think he's more of like a weak side linebacker. But I wouldn't be upset if we missed our linebacker with the second and ended up grabbing him with one of those thirds. What about the kid from Wisconsin in the third? I know he's I'm intrigued by him. He's a little undersized. I think if he could put a little bit of weight on his frame and be that, off ball fit, between the tackles linebacker next to Tyndall, I think he could do good because I like his lateral movement. I like how he fits gaps. He's not a guy who gets exposed all too often as far as what you're asking him to do to keep things in front of him in coverage, which is a lot of what Fangio does. He doesn't have those guys. Fangio wisely makes certain, depending on what kind of blitz or what kind of front formation what he has, because he does a lot of stack side formations on the D line at times. He makes sure that those linebackers get deep in there to keep things in front of him. He often doesn't have them turning their back to chase people downfield. There's one of those safeties. Somebody's going to come up. So I think he could do well. What do you think?
Nick Herbig, if you look at the last 2 years at Wisconsin, he has 31 tackles for loss, and he had 11 sacks this past year.
Nice.
He is a pass rusher. And the question with him becomes, are you able to take him out of that pass rushing role in this type of defense and put him in a different role with his football instincts? Because if you are, then I think you might have a player. If you're looking to just, and I keep going back to the Josh Boyer defense, if Andrew Van Ginkel, who is a free agent this year and I don't think is going to return because of the scheme fit, if you were to replace Andrew Van Ginkel in this defense with Nick Herbig, I think that would make a lot of sense. And you would be replacing him with another Wisconsin guy. But he's that type of guy that fires off the edge right now. And anything more than that, it would probably be a project.
You know what's funny is I'm looking at my notes and I'm looking at the dude from Texas.
DeMario?
Yeah. I've got Nick off my cross list on here. Anyhow, my fault. But yeah, I don't think we're interested in any edge rushers, buddy. I don't think that's gonna happen.
Yeah, because that's the thing, this is a rich class at edge. It's a really rich class.
Yeah, but I feel like we have our answers as far as who we're gonna rush.
I have no interest in the edge class, even though it's
not
so
me
rich.
Either. I haven't looked at anybody at all, honestly.
What Dolphins fans should be rooting for in those top 50 picks before it gets to 51 is for 8 to 10 edge rushers to be taken off the board, which is very, very possible because it's so deep.
That would be nice. That means some guys are going to fall pretty nicely for us because at least 4 quarterbacks are coming in the top 10, I would say. There's going to be, I don't know, maybe I would be really surprised if Anthony Richardson fell outside of the 10. There's just no way. One of those teams, Atlanta would snag him. He wouldn't fall further than Atlanta. I don't think Carolina passes up on him either.
And now you're talking about the first 8. Atlanta picks at 8, Carolina picks at 9, and even if it gets crazy, the Jets pick at 13. Like there's no way.
There's no way, bro. That kid's got too much talent.
Yeah,
he can't throw a timing. He can't throw a timing throw to save his life. That's some of the ugliest passing I've seen. But that man's got a cannon for an arm, and he can run like a deer. He's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I think what people are forgetting about Anthony Richardson, too, is that with his ability to break the perimeter and get to the outside, this guy can run until he figures out passing. We saw it with Lamar Jackson. We saw it with Justin Fields. I don't think he's quite at Lamar Jackson's level as far as running, but I think he's better than Justin Fields coming out of college as a runner, and Justin Fields just ran for over 1,000 yards as a quarterback. So I see Richardson being a quality prospect here, and I love this quarterback class.
I think so too.
Not for the Dolphins at all. Don't get me wrong.
I think there's some guys. I don't know if they'll be knocks out of the park, but I think they're going to be dudes we're going to see around in the NFL for a little while. I'm interested to see. It's not like it's got a million dudes that could go up and down the board that people are talking about, but those first 4 dudes are pretty damn good. So Will Levis, I'm interested. That kid's got a freaking cannon. Stroud, all those dudes. It's hard not to look and see and watch, especially because the highlights. I mean, everybody got a million highlights of all this. Anyhow, so say we. Is there anybody else perceptively as far as the linebacker class that might be somebody the Dolphins say they double dip? You know what I'm saying? And one of these dudes Anybody you can think of that would even be worth one of the later round picks, just off the top of your head?
D. Winters from TCU is somebody who I think, as far as what he can bring on a down-to-down basis, you're talking about somebody who is a 4.5 40 player, and I always really liked, but I just didn't think had the measurables. And then he goes to the combine and puts that up. When you get down to the 6th and 7th round, and it sucks the Dolphins don't have a 4th and 5th rounder, but
Yeah, I know.
because it would broaden this discussion. But I think he is an absolute missile. And if you're talking about somebody,
you don't think he makes it to the 6th round?
If he can make it to the 4th or 5th, he can make it to the 6th.
Yeah, okay, I got you. That's when things really start falling.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, linebacker is not a big focus for me. It really isn't, because, well, let me turn this a different way here. Do you think Jerome Baker's going to be on the team next year, or do you think he's going to be cut?
I can't understand how you can let Jerome go. He's done too well on this team. I've always been a Jerome Baker fan because I remember how terrible the linebackers were before Baker got around here. Right? And the Dolphins signings, draft picks, we had guys that flashed, late round dudes or undrafted dudes. But when you're bringing out guys like Hull, remember the dude Hull from
Mike Hull,
Mike Hull, and he did some stuff, and we were excited to see him play, and it's clappable. But like, those are guys that are, you're asking to take snaps at times. We were doing terrible, and ever since Baker's been around, he's done everything they've asked him. Everything. Yeah, he's not top in anything he does, but the man is a jack of all trades.
Mm-hmm.
But
so
I don't know. I think it would be malpractice if they were going to draft a kid in the draft and have Tyndall come out next year and not have Jerome around there to help center be this, calling out plays in the defense. I think it'd be a bad move.
So, and there's been a lot of talk about the Dolphins and off-ball linebacker. Here's why I don't care about off-ball linebacker. If Jerome Baker stays here and you've got Channing Tyndall, you could pluck 15 to 22 down linebackers off the free agent market and just insert somewhere into the lineup, get 300, 400 snaps a year, and you're good. And I think Jack Campbell, if he fell to 51, he would be a special addition as a rookie. But after that, I'm hard pressed to even take a guy in the 3rd round. Henley, that Ollie was talking about, would be my top choice if he fell to the 3rd round.
Not Sewell, none of those other guys.
Well, it's more of a 4th or 5th round guy, to be honest. Just based on what I saw, and last year he had such a down year. I think that hurt his draft stock completely, personally.
Yeah, he's a nasty fighting player. He's got good width. I don't see a lot of refinement anywhere in his game. That's what bothers me about Noah Sewell. I think he is a college football player right now, and he needs to really step up to the next level, because I don't see him covering receivers out of the backfield at a high level. I don't see him filling the hole at a high level. So you're talking about a project. You're talking about a day 3 type of guy in the 4th or 5th round, and the Dolphins don't have a 4th or 5th round pick, so you're talking about a 6th or 7th round pick.
All right, so they pick Sewell in the 3rd round. I'm going to be pissed now.
Do you think? Brian, I know we don't want to really get too crazy with trade ideas, but do you think that there's potential for Dolphins in certain situations throughout the draft trading down to gain more picks? Like, do you think there's going to be some of those options that may come on our way?
Absolutely. I mean, if the Dolphins get to 51 and there is not a holy crap type of player there, Campbell being one of them, a few other guys that we can talk about too, like Mozzie Smith from Michigan is a defensive tackle, and I know that's not a sexy pick, but it's
something Fangio likes.
Yeah, it's in this defense. You're exactly right. He is a space monster, and I wouldn't advocate for that either, but Zach Sealer, Raekwon Davis, Christian Wilkins, all due on contracts. What are you going to do a year from now? To touch real quick
back to what we were talking earlier about it being a win now type of year. Perceptively, if they were to trade Christian Wilkins, you might be able to buy a third year in that window. Just saying. So, but you kind of hinder yourself in this year, but not if you make that pick this year.
Yes, and I would. I mean, see, anytime I talk about Christian Wilkins, I start getting into a conversation I don't want to have because I think he's a top 6 to 8 defensive lineman in the league, defensive tackle in this league. I think he's fantastic. I didn't like the pick in 2019 when he was a first round pick. He has exceeded
better
all
every
of those
year.
expectations.
Every year he gets better.
Yeah, he does. He does. Here's the question though, is another team going to trade a high round pick and also pay him $20 million a year? Because that's what he's going to ask for, because there are 8 defensive tackles in the NFL right now who are making 17.5 or 16.5 million a year or more.
Dude, those guys are signed in $100 million contracts now.
Right.
Guys like him that hit free agency. He gets traded. He's looking at, 5-year extension, $100 million type contract. That's a done deal.
And the question from the Dolphins perspective, and I'm going down a road I shouldn't, go down, is if you ask any Dolphins fans, should the Dolphins sign Christian Wilkins to a long-term deal? The answer universally across the board is yes. My question back is, are you okay with paying Christian Wilkins almost $20 million a year with all the money that's being thrown around when he's 29 to 34 years old? And if the answer is yes, I respectfully disagree, even though I think he's a fantastic player.
So, listen, I love Christian Wilkins, and I agree with you. He's exceeded all expectations, and every single year he has gotten more impactful and better. Not so much picking up the big sacks. I don't even think he has 12 in his whole career. But as far as him, like this year, he hit another gear. And last year you thought he hit another gear at times. So he's always gotten better. But you've got Chubb. You're gonna need to pay. And to me, if I'm gonna gauge special, and not to say Christian Wilkins isn't special, but I really think Jalen Phillips. I mean, if that kid, you cannot let that guy become a situation that you can't afford him. You can't.
Absolutely, 100%. You hit the nail on the head, and that's what I think. If you bypass everything, is what it's gonna come down to. You're paying Chubb almost $20 million a year long term.
Yep.
And then the decision's good. You can't pay all 3 of these guys $20 million a year.
You're going to pay $125 million a year on your defensive line. No, you can't do it. And I'm sorry to say, Christian Wilkins is where you got to trim the fat to be a properly spending organization, And I think Zach Sealer, just in his play alone, hopefully Raekwon Davis steps up. He's been good at as far as that. I don't know if he could ever be a Christian Wilkins. I don't think he'll be that guy. Christian Wilkins is just a freak. The guy can do backflips. I mean, let's be real. But so defensive tackle with that second pick could really open up the trade market for the Dolphins, receiving trade offers post-draft from other teams looking to, I'm thinking of like, the Lions, depending on what they do in the draft, as far as, because I know they got the kid on the young kid, what's his name, the pass rusher over there, putting him with Christian Wilkins. That would be a great pairing for them on defense when their secondary's still needing some help. Even if they get some young guys, it would really help them out to have havoc up front. And I don't know, they got capital. Another team that I know loves defensive tackles, like the Ravens. What would they be interested in doing is maybe trading for them. There's going to be teams every year that want to pick up a guy like Wilkins.
Yeah. What I go back to too, as far as his trade value, and I don't think he'll be traded because I think he's in a weird spot where,
I do too.
If a team offered a first round pick for Christian Wilkins, I would take it. It's no doubt about it. And it's not anything against Christian Wilkins is that you're talking about somebody who is going to be 28 years old at the end of the year, and long term, I mean,
year 3, you're either trying to get rid of him or you're having to restructure, and you're doing that to hopefully afford Waddle and Phillips. I mean, you just got too much young budding talent. You're gonna have to pay
everybody. That's the
You
reality.
can't, man. You can't. And if
Yeah.
Tua works out, he's gonna demand 40. What are you gonna do?
yeah. So
What are you
you're
gonna do?
so
Cap ain't going up that much, guys.
just right there. Chubb, 20 million. Wilkins, 20 million. Jalen Phillips, 20 million. We're talking about in a year from now. And if Tua has a great year, which is what we're hoping for, 40 million. Tyreek Hill.
Half your cap.
Watt-
It's half your cap.
You just can't pay all these guys 15 to 20 million each, and that's what it is. But also Christian Wilkins, how many defensive tackles have you seen who, God love him, has averages 2.5 sacks a year, go for first round picks? It just
Yeah.
doesn't happen. So it's a weird spot.
Yeah, but I think teams, I feel like he's respected around the NFL, and that other teams probably think to themselves schematically, because he has the ability to play inside and outside. We've seen him play defensive end and hold edges and do stuff like that. So he has the versatility as far as a lineman. Maybe they can think to themselves, I can do, I don't know. Somebody might give us something though.
Yeah. So when you say something, would you take a 3rd round pick for him?
No. But if
Neither would I.
somebody goes, no way, bro, I'm letting him play this year.
And
But
this
if they go,
Detroit's second first round pick that they have, I think it's number 18. I think they got. I'll take that pick.
Me too.
yeah,
Oh,
I'd take that bad man pajama right now. Imagine if Dolphins find themselves in the first round. What?
yeah, that would be fun. That would be like wow.
It wouldn't, as wow as it would be, everyone go, oh yeah, that's right. Chris Greer makes moves like a mofo. That's what we'll all say like 2 weeks afterward. Like, oh yeah, that's right. It's Chris Greer. You never know what the hell that guy's going to do.
If that were to happen, I think you should. I mean, anybody on this podcast here should play the lottery.
I'm doing it. I'm rolling those dice. Going right over to the casino right now.
I will say Christian Wilkins does look like a Dan Campbell type of dude. There's no doubt about that. And if you're looking for a culture changer and somebody who can really fit a need, and the Lions suck at defensive tackle, they're not going to get a first round pick for him. But if you're talking about those trades where Chris Greer swaps a pick, trades I don't know.
Well, I mean, don't they have 2 first round picks the following year too?
I think so. I've got to check.
What
on
if they
that,
give
but,
us one of those? Like I don't need this year's first round. You can give me a first rounder for next year.
I'm not trying to get into the argument about Tua, but that would make sense a lot, especially if we're not sure what is going to happen to Tua, and we may have to think about the 20.
Give the Dolphins a safety net if they have to pivot off the quarterback. Now all of a sudden they got 2 first round draft picks. They could climb up the board for a young guy. They could use those draft picks for some unperceived free agent. I don't know. Again, it allows Chris Greer, who seems to be backed into a corner right now, to just turn and have another 3 years to be the GM of the Dolphins. So, he made savvy moves.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to go down a road here, but if that's the case, we're going young at the position.
I'm not going to be happy, but I mean, what can I do?
Yeah, that's true.
The only name I will throw out is Herndon Hooker as a 2nd or 3rd round pick. I'm not saying specifically that should happen, but
the
if
kid
it
from
happened,
Tennessee,
yep,
kid from Tennessee,
tore his ACL this year.
I that kid's got some arm strength too. I like him. I thought he was pretty decent, but
yeah,
he's obviously has some project stuff to him, especially now
Yes.
coming off injury. We could sit on him for a year. I could see something like that, but nah. I think touching back to the Christian Wilkins things, if they traded him and got not a not a first round this year, but for 2024, that gives the Dolphins some flexibility on what to do with Tua. And also, if Tua works out, great. I got 2 first round draft picks to get offensive line and what else? Maybe that's the year the Dolphins select the friggin' running back in the first round, so you get that 5th-year option because you're already paying your quarterback. You know what I'm saying? Maybe.
Yeah, and Herndon Hooker is not somebody I would draft in the second round, but if he fell to the third round, based on his
You don't
production
you
at
don't think he
Tennessee,
warrants a second rounder? What if the Dolphins trade back and stay in the second round and find themselves a little bit
quarterback
further in the
position's
second?
weird because if you can fall to the second round, middle of the second round, you can fall all the way down. I mean, you
Yeah.
look at Sam Howell last year. Sam
Yeah, I
Howell,
know.
was in Daniel Jeremiah's top 25 players last year, I believe. And he was, projected universally to be a second round pick. He fell to the 5th round because
Yeah.
once the NFL agrees that you are not their guy, you become a project player. So if Herndon Hooker falls out of the first round, and I'm sure he will because of the torn ACL, he could fall down to the 3rd round. He could fall down to the 4th. He could fall down to the 5th. But my point is that I would rather have somebody like that where you're throwing 2 irons into the fire with high upside at the position than going out and spending $7 or $8 million a year again on a backup quarterback.
Oh my God, I'm so sick of doing that, bro. I'm so sick.
Yeah.
It bothers me. It bothers me that, we need a great backup because for reasons we all know. I'm sick of it. I don't want to waste the roster spot. I don't want to waste the money. I don't care how much money you pay these guys. They come in cold when someone goes down, and it's just never – it irritates me. So defensive tackle with the second pick. Well, who was the guy you said that you would crack out of the park?
So I keep taking us off topic here because it's not my show, and
No,
I
you're good,
apologize
dog.
for that.
You're good. You're
So let me make this clear: is that when you look at the defensive part of the draft here,
good. Mm-hmm.
I would not spend the 51st pick on anything other than 2 players: defensive tackle Mozzie Smith from Michigan. And if you want to look at this guy, he is 6'3", 334 pounds, and he did not actually record a sack at Michigan. He had half a sack in his entire career. But if you watch him, his play strength is unbelievable. And if you watch I watched 3 to 5 games of him here. And when I watched him, he moved all over the defensive line and he got this close every single time. When
Really?
his play strength is incredible, but also as far as his actual bench press strength, he benched 22 times, 325 pounds. 325 pounds.
Not the 225. He threw a honey on there.
Yeah.
Wow.
I have to
and he
concur.
Dang.
and at the combine, he benched 34 times.
Mhm.
Led the
Yeah.
entire.
Did they
Free
just say,
process.
"Hey, man, we get it, bro. You got it"?
Yeah.
And sometimes that gets thrown around. Watch a few games of him, and you
Okay.
don't see him just dancing around the Michigan defensive front at 6'3", 330. He's phenomenal. And I would every day take him at 51 as we sit here today. I think he'll go before that because
Think he'll go in the second round, though?
I think he'll go late first when it's all said
Really?
and done. Yeah.
Who do you think
Which-
takes him?
If I had to guess, the Eagles at the end of the first round, because
Eagles or Ravens? I could see either one of those teams. That sounds like
Ravens is a
a
good one,
Ravens or an Eagles pick all day.
because Eagles love those defensive tackles, and when
Yeah,
you
they
look
do.
at Fletcher Cox and Ndamukong Suh, Linval Joseph leaving there, pairing Mozzie Smith with Jordan Davis would be exactly the pipeline that they've been looking for at the interior line position.
With Gardner Johnson leaving the Eagles, though, do you think that they may go in a different direction because of that? Do you think they may hit safety instead?
Maybe if it's Brian Branch at the end of the first round, because he ran a 4.61 at the 40 or at the combine, did not test out well, and there is no safety behind him that is worthy of first round consideration, in my opinion. I like Sidney Brown. To me, he's the second best safety in the draft right now because these other guys can't run. I mean, you can't have somebody who's a 4.65 in today's NFL at the back end of your defense. You just can't. And this is a really weak safety class. But Brian Branch would be the only guy that I consider. And he might fall to the second round if he gets past the Eagles here.
So, okay, go ahead,
Oh.
Ollie.
I don't mean to interrupt you, Captain. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
There's a safety in this draft that a lot of people tell me is one of the hardest hitting safeties. I think his name is J.L. Skinner. Have you heard of this guy? I think he plays for Boise.
Yeah, Boise State, and to me, he should be a linebacker.
Oh,
Really?
And I don't mean that in a condescending way. He's a really good player. Somebody who can see if you're a bad coverage, strong safety, but you're a good football player. If you move down to the linebacker position, now you're immediately an asset. But if you're talking about in today's NFL, where most teams play that, either the deep safety look, the cover two, anything other than what the Dolphins have been playing for the last couple of years, it's really hard to survive back there when you're a 4.7 40 type of player at 6'4", 220.
Interesting. Well, what about later? Maybe with one of these third round picks taking a true nose guy. Anybody you think might be there?
Ika from Baylor. He is a massive nose tackle. He's been compared to Paul Soliai. All he can do is stop the run, though. And
so he's just a wall.
Yes, but
I like those.
I like him too. The thing is,
it's kind of like what you're getting in those kind of dudes. Yeah, they'll get some tackles. Anyone gets around and they can grab a hold of. They're never going by them, but especially if they go, I don't know. Fuck, it's hard. It's so hard because Fangio and the Dolphins haven't picked up any free agents, so they haven't even tipped their hand at all as far as what they're going to do. It's been pretty good.
Yeah, and the question then from a player like Ika is that he's so one-dimensional. He's a nose tackle. He better be great immediately at being that nose tackle. He's not a great fit in the defense, but he better be great. And then how does he, replace or take over for Raekwon Davis or Christian Wilkins or Zach Sealer in terms of the scheme fit? I think he's somebody that's probably going to fall to day 3 because he's so one-dimensional, but he's massive.
Yeah, he's a big boy. All right, so Dolphins don't get the linebacker. They don't get the D tackle. So no one else is worthy of your second round pick?
No, not at all.
So they need to trade back at this point then?
No, because I think that cornerback is the position the Dolphins need to go to.
Really? Let's hear it.
100%.
Me and Brian.
We know that we're losing Byron. We know that X is getting a little older. I think we like what we have in Kohu.
Yes.
Bringing back Campbell, he played a little bit, but the Dolphins have had such luck, finding guys later, undrafted guys to be good enough. Now, we've done great as far as getting DBs in the second round. I mean, we've always crushed that pick. So who do you like as far as somebody to be there with that second pick?
So, and it really has to do with the actual talent of the cornerback class in this draft. Gotcha. It's not about its specific needs. Because when it was Josh Boyer, the defensive coordinator of this defense, I was so strict on the cornerback you had to get because if you're talking about that cover 0 look, these cornerbacks have to be big, they have to be physical, they have to be Xavier Howard and Byron Jones all the time, which makes what Kader Kohu did last year so much more special. So now you have Xavier Howard, who's declining. Let's be honest. But Kader Kohou is a godsend, absolute godsend at the cornerback position. Now you have to add more players because Keon Crossan might be cut, and no Egbenogany is obviously an abomination.
God.
But to give you some names here, and what to divide up the cornerback class, there are 4 players who are not going to be available for the Dolphins at 51. They're not going to be available probably outside the top 25 picks. That's Devon Witherspoon from Illinois, Christian Gonzalez from Oregon, Joey Porter Jr. from Penn State, Deontay Banks from Maryland.
Wow.
And, yeah, Banks knocked it out of the park. He was the guy I wanted at 51.
I
But
think
he knocked it out of the park.
Combine did it for him. That's what really put him on the map, because prior to that, I thought he was like a day 2, end of day 2 kind of guy personally, prior to that.
Yeah, I agree with you. And then when you, instead of being, 6 foot, 195 pounds, you're actually 6'2",
205.
205. Thank you.
Yeah.
And run a 4.35, have an 11.6 broad jump, which is
I
one
don't
of the
see
biggest.
I don't see how that guy don't get scooped up before us. I know who you're talking about. He's already huge.
Yeah,
He's really good. I would love that pick. I would be very excited for that pick.
Yeah, I would be too. And he's also a player too that, he may not fall to 51, but if he falls outside the first round unexpectedly, would you trade up for him and plug him into the lineup day 1? Those are the conversations that, that are going to be
I don't think I'd be, if
interesting.
the Dolphins do trade up for him, I'm not going to be mad at it. I kind of, if you know your guy and you want to go up and get him, I'm never really mad at a team for doing stuff like that. Yeah, I'm mad when it misses, but I'm not mad at the idea and the ideology behind it, because you don't wait. We've been far too long. We've seen teams jump 1-2 picks ahead of us to take the running back all us Dolphin fans are watching drop in our lap, and don't let it happen to any player you want. So I would like that. What about the kid from Alabama? Do you think he'd slide all the way down?
Eli Ricks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
think-
he's an interesting guy. He's a transfer from LSU and had 2 pick sixes a couple of years ago in 2020 and hasn't played a lot of football since then. He seems to be more of a press corner. And that's where the class gets interesting, because there are a couple of guys they take off the board. Keely Ringo, I have no interest in for the Dolphins. Eli Ricks, I have no interest in for the Dolphins, only because he is a press cornerback. And if you start putting him into Vic Fangio's cover defense, I don't think it works, because he's so big and he's so choppy. But I look at the other guys here too, like Juju Brents from Kansas State. This is one of my favorite players in the draft.
Yes.
Because 6'3", 198 pounds. And if you watch him go up against Quentin Johnson from TCU, it is a phenomenal matchup. Quentin Johnson had a long catch against him early, but it is a great matchup. And then you get into Senior Bowl, and he's by far the best cornerback there. And then here, over the last couple of weeks here at the Combine, he ran a 6.63 3-cone drill. And that may, those are nerd numbers. I understand it, but that measures change of direction. And it was one of the best in Combine history. So you're talking about somebody who was really good at Kansas State, really good against the top receiver in the draft, dominated the Senior Bowl, is a zone cornerback, and is 6'3", 198, and can be plugged in and compete immediately. And in a worst case scenario, he's a good tackler and could be moved to safety.
Yeah.
Ali, wasn't
that's
this
a
one
lot
of the
of good
guys you
stuff.
were talking about, Ali?
Yeah. This is one of the 2 guys that I think it's a must for Miami Dolphins. In the third round, there's 2 guys I like. This guy's the first guy. He's very, very physical. He's not afraid to get in the run game and help out. He's a pure tackler. He does a lot of things, and he can play safety. I agree with you completely, 100%. He's my number 1 guy. There's a second guy who you and I have talked about, Captain, that I think tackles like a linebacker, and that's Antonio Johnson. I like Antonio Johnson. I think he can play corner or safety. He gets physical. He does a lot of the similar things to to Juju Brents. Both guys are really smart. And I think like we've seen it in the past, but I think with specifically in a Fangio defense, I think in this position, whoever we're going to get is going to have a very high football IQ. And I think both choices are really good. I think they're a must. And the one thing we saw this season that broke my heart, honestly, was horrible tackling. From after the linebackers were washed, the secondary, were making like bump tackles or like trying to like just push the guy out of bounds rather than really tackling and wrapping up. And it wasn't just the secondary. Don't get me wrong. It was the linebackers and so on. But
A lot of arm tackles.
And I don't like that. Both these guys wrap up properly, drag the players down. They lay on hits. I'm not gonna lie. Both players do. But Brent's, he's by far one of my favorite corners in this draft complete.
And I can tell, Ali, that you like length in your defensive backs because, I mean, Antonio Johnson is 6'2", 198 pounds, and had the biggest arm length of the top safety prospects here.
I like
And
a
he is smart.
guy who's
He's
got
smart.
some length too.
And that's the big difference here in the Vic Fangio defense compared to what we've had over the last couple of years. And I haven't disliked a lot of what I've seen over the last couple of years. I've liked the aggressiveness. I've liked the blitz packages compared to the douchebags of the previous regimes. Kevin Coyle and
Yeah.
Matt Burke was the worst. But
Yeah, he
anyway,
was.
getting off
I-
topic. But
What happened with that guy?
Matt Burke, he's
Yeah.
the Eagles
Linebacker
Is he-
coach, right?
defensive line coach, I think. Which, I mean, position coach, good for him. That's all he should be, because he was. I've never seen anything like it. Anyway, but the Dolphins are converting from more to a blitz man-to-man scheme to this zone coverage. So the instincts and the length that Ali was talking about is
Isn't a requirement.
interesting. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's required here. You're exactly right.
So, oddly enough, the kid, I don't think he'll be a third round pick. I think he'll be a day 2 pick, though. He'll probably go in the second. The kid from TCU, he's super small, not real big, but he's super scrappy.
Hodges Tomlinson.
Thompson.
It's Tomlinson's nephew.
Yeah.
Scrappy is right.
Super scrappy. He's very fluid. I like him. He's obviously got a high football IQ, just how he plays. Could you see the Dolphins taking him, and with that second round pick?
Second might be a little too rich because there are so many cornerbacks in this draft. I mean,
got you.
and
But we know
really
there's
think
always a run. There's always a run. There's probably going to be 5 taken off to 6 taken off in the first round. It happens every year.
there is going to be a run, and then there's going to be a wait, and then there might be second round pick might be a little bit too rich, but I love the guy. But he's also 5'8", 178, and
That's the only problem. It's
Yeah.
the only problem I have. But we've seen guys that are scrappy, that are that size, that are great football players, and they make it in the NFL. They figure out a way. So I don't know, especially in this zone, a lot of zone. I could see him just tearing shit up.
I like
Opposite
him.
Peter-
I like
Yeah.
also Kytrell Clark from Louisville. I mean, you're talking about guys who are good football players and also fit the genetic makeup other than their size. I mean,
Mhm.
you know,
They like the way those guys play football. It's fun to see them play.
so talking about Tomlinson, 4'1", 39-inch vertical leap, and over 11-inch broad jump. So yeah, he absolutely could go in the second round because those skills measure your ability to make up in any type of coverage.
Yeah,
issue with
31. He had 31 pass breakups in 3 seasons, 5 interceptions. He only allowed a 28.3% completion last year. He was number 1 for all cornerbacks last year. QBR allowed was 28.6. That's 5th amongst all corners. And I mean, kid was good. He's a good football player.
I mean, I don't doubt his ability. The only concern I have in the Fangio defense, I think we want to bring in people that are more bring more physicality as well as have better tackling skills. And at times, if you watch him, because I went back and watched his tape, I actually watched him in the final, the championship game and everything. He at times misses tackles that he should have. You know what I mean? And that's the only concern I have with it. But overall, he has the speed, he has the tangibles. You know, his broad jump was really good, like you said. I could see him going in the second round. I just don't know if he's really the guy we need for our defense. That's my only question mark with it.
One guy that I think that would be a perfect fit is in that second, third round area too, is Jalen Jones from Texas A&M. And this is a player I would not have even sniffed at in the previous regime on defense, but his play strength is incredible. He's gone up against a very high level of competition. His lower hips, his ability to just spring into action in zone defense, love him. So if Jalen Jones is available there in the third round, would absolutely consider him for the Dolphins too.
That's actually a good one. I saw him during the combine. His numbers look good too.
Yeah, other than the 40 time, I mean,
So
the vertical leap, what I like about that drill is that it really nails down on your ability on your lower body explosion. And when you're in zone defense and you've had so much experience in that, and then you put up those numbers, that's impressive. Also 32-inch arm length.
Yeah.
all right. So I think we're down to 3 guys' names defensively that they'd run to with that second pick. We're talking about the defensive tackle, the linebacker, and latest the corner, which well, I guess maybe there's probably more than 2 corners you might be able to take with that second round pick and live with it. Which one would you what's your top corner again, Brian? That would to land to the Dolphins, not top in the draft, but to land to the Dolphins within reason.
Yes, within reason. I'm going to say Juju Brents within reason, because I'm taking 4 guys off the board immediately: Witherspoon, Gonzalez, Porter, and Banks. And then Ringo I wouldn't consider for this defense, even though he might go in the second round. And then a few other guys that are very interesting. But yeah, Juju Brents would be my guy at 51.
Okay. What about you, Ali? That Kansas kid?
Same dude.
Oh, it's that is the same dude.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we are on that. We are in agreement on that then. Okay. Then the defensive tackle from Michigan was the guy you were talking about, right, Brian?
Yeah. Mozzie Smith, Jack Campbell are the only 2 guys for me that I would even consider in the first 3 rounds at off-ball linebacker or defensive line on the ground there. So to me, it's a heavy defensive back draft for the Dolphins if they're going to go in that direction. And otherwise, got some thoughts on offense too, but for a later date.
Yeah. So which of these CBs, we're running a little over an hour now. So which of these CBs you could see falling further, that say the Dolphins go linebacker, say the Iowa kids there. So they get linebacker. They don't go cornerback. One of these dudes that fall to, I don't know, say they trade back from one of those third round picks to get, a later third rounder and the fourth rounder, and they end up grabbing one of these guys. What do you guys think as far as one of these other CBs that could end up, a guy that's the next Cater Kohu for the Dolphins, we'll say.
I'm going to throw it to Ali first here. I feel like I've been jumping in on every question first.
No, you're good. You're
No,
the special guest.
Brian. Yeah, you're the special guest, Brian. It's okay. I think Brent. I still think Brent's is going to go in the third round. I still think that's where he goes. I think we're within striking distance. If we get Jack Campbell with that second round pick, I could see us getting Brent's the very next pick very easily. Now, are there teams that might be smurfing around? Yeah, but there's so many corners that who knows? Maybe people that want other players may be trading up and moves more of those corners down the board. I mean, there's a lot of different scenarios, but I still am going to go with Jack Campbell first, and then Brent's is the very next pick. That's what I'm going with.
Yeah, there's so many corners in this draft we haven't even talked about. So I'm just going to run right through them. DJ Turner had a 4.26 from Michigan, and he is scheme versatile. And he's a good. He's not just computer numbers. He went from a third or fourth round pick to possibly a second round pick by testing the way that he did, and he's would probably be a better fit in a man coverage scheme, but I think he can also get easily into the zone coverage scheme too. Clark Phillips is one of my favorite players in the draft, but when you're talking about the top 12 consensus cornerbacks, and there's only one guy who's under 5'10", and there's only one guy who ran a 4.5 or slower, and there's only one guy who had under 30-inch arms, and Clark Phillips is the answer to all of those questions.
It's never good.
I love him in the third round still. Just kind of like, Marcus Jones went last year for the Patriots, but yeah, I can't advocate for him as a starter. And if you're drafting someone in the second round in this draft, I think it's going to be a starter. Darius Rush, Riley Moss are players who are moving up the draft board too. Riley Moss is somebody in a zone defense. Mm-hmm. He's been told all of his life here that he can't play cornerback, and he can also move to safety. And he ran a 4.45, and he's somebody who has a lot of games on his resume. Riley Moss from Iowa is somebody in the third round I think the Dolphins would possibly consider too.
I think they like that versatility. If any of these corners can also play safety, I think that helps anyone at any given time becoming a Dolphin as far as when the Dolphins are drafting. I don't know. As far as with the second pick, I'm really hoping that we get our linebacker there. It seemed like at times last year in the defense, that was the biggest hole at times. It was like every time you turn around, the linebackers are getting exposed in the passing game, getting exposed in the running game. And, everybody likes to blame Jerome Baker, but it's not his fault. He can't be everywhere, especially when they're having him move all over the field. Do you think they go defense with that second round pick?
I think they go defensive back. Yeah. I think they go cornerback gun to my head right now, because to me, it's only one guy at 51 is Jack Campbell. And Mozzie Smith is a player that I don't think will be there at defensive tackle. And he'd be the only guy that makes sense, because these other guys here, Kalijah Cansey from Pittsburgh, for example. This guy's 6'2", 282. He has no chance in this type of defense unless you're looking for somebody who's going to get 10 sacks a year and is going to break containment on every play. That is not a Vic Fangio type of player. You have to have containment, and you're dropping players into coverage. This is not an attacking defense like we've seen the last couple of years. It's a zone-based, disciplined defense, and that's a good thing for Dolphins fans.
I like it.
Yeah, so Kalijah Cansey, I don't see being on the Dolphins' radar, and it's really isolated at defensive line and linebacker. So there's so many cornerbacks, and you have to get so many cornerbacks on the field, and the Dolphins have nobody outside of Xavier Howard and Cater Kohu. because they're going to probably cut Keon Crossan. No, Igbenogany's useless. And
Well, I think Keon Crossan has like guarantees in his contract, so I think he's not going to get cut. I know they did pick up the restriction for Campbell, so I know he's coming back. But these guys are supposed to be special teamers. You know what I'm saying? That's what they were. The fact is, we saw a lot of these guys playing a lot of corner last year, and it's probably why we saw a lot of the arm tackling in the secondary. It's probably why we saw a lot of exposure happening. It's probably why the linebackers even played bad at times, because they're playing, out of position a little bit to make up for the guy who's, new to the defense and even new to the team, really. So
I'm all about if Keon Crossan is kept on the team, I'm good with that.
well, yeah, he's special teams ace. That's supposed to be his damn job. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
yeah, exactly. And third, fourth corner. I mean, actually,
Yeah,
fourth
in a
cornerback,
pinch,
I
need
would
him to
say.
come out there, rotate. Hell yeah, keep the guy. But
He
do I
can
wanna
also be cut. He can be cut with no
Yes.
penalty
yes, you're right.
for $3 million. The Dolphins can save $3 million. That's a choice they have to make. I'm not. If they choose to keep him, that's better than keeping Clayton Fedulum for the last couple
Oh
of
yeah,
years.
no more fed. That guy, he always ends up. Guess what? They'll cut him, but come like week 8 or week 9, Fedge will be picked up.
He's
off
a
the
free
waiver
agent.
wire.
He's gone. So
I'm saying though, week 8, week 9, they're gonna end up. Miami Dolphins sign Clayton Fedulum. What? It's gonna happen.
he's gonna be the Isaiah Ford of the
Yes,
defense.
he's the new Isaiah Ford of the defense. Good call. Yeah, there's unless some offensive guy that should have never been there drops to him in the second round, I can't see how they don't go defense with that second pick. Not that there isn't a couple offensive guys, that could fall to them. If the Dolphins didn't make that pick, and we won't go into too much on the offense, we'll save that for a later date. Who would be someone they couldn't say no to sliding to them in the second with that second pick?
As far because when I look at the offense, I think 7 positions are locked in place. Tua, Hill, Waddle, Armstead, Hunt, Connor Williams, and Alec Ingold, who I think should be more involved and gets more snaps this year. So when you look at that, I look at left guard, right tackle, and running back. And if Jahmyr Gibbs from Alabama falls to 51, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, and that's a real possibility too. I think.
Yeah, it
depending,
is.
Depending on how things shake out with a run on corners, with a run on wide receivers, all those things are happening.
I don't know, bro. I honestly think with what we saw at the combine, I think Gibbs is a late first rounder now. I think he's early second round or late first round. In fact, I'm going to give you a broken take.
All right.
I was kind of disappointed with Bijan Robinson at the combine and what I saw personally, right? I'm going to give you a broken take that there is a scenario, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, and I kind of doubt this will happen, but there is a scenario that Gibbs could be taken over Bijan. Just saying. So I don't agree. I don't see that
broken. How many times we see that happen right there?
It's true, but I mean, in this draft, everybody is saying that Bijan Robinson is the best running back in this draft. That that Buffalo people were begging their GM to go after him in this draft. I mean, how many people have said that this year? Even myself, I think Bijan Robinson is awesome. What he put on tape is amazing. But at the combine, he was a little bit slower, so he still has this pro day. But I don't know, bro. Jahmyr Gibbs blew it out of the water, in my opinion, when it came to running backs at the combine. Just saying.
I really like Jahmyr Gibbs. And yeah, to me, Bijan Robinson has transcended the point of, like a mid-round running back here. He ran a 4.47, which is perfectly fine for him. I would have to give you 100-to-1 odds on that with Jahmyr Gibbs. And I love Jahmyr Gibbs. And I could absolutely see a world where Jahmyr Gibbs is a better NFL running back than Bijan Robinson. But I think too many people are in love with him right now.
Yeah, everybody been talking about Robinson for forever. So there's teams that are already probably sold on that guy. No tight end sliding to the Dolphins. That it's worth it. Washington makes
Hey,
it out of the first
let's
round.
go. If if we want to crack a beer here and talk about offense here, I'll give you some names if you're
Okay,
down for it.
let's crack it open.
Okay, all right. Let's take a little bit of a break here, and I will be back in 5 minutes.
That'll work. I'll do the rundown. All right, guys, we're at the hour and a half mark. We're gonna do a little bit of other. We're gonna touch on the offense. We're planning on it, but we got an extra little bit of time. We'll talk a little bit of offense. We'll see which guys will, if the Dolphins are gonna get lucky. Maybe we know everyone wants to go defense. It's what they've shown in their hand. That don't mean that they're not going to take an offensive player that falls in their lap, but make sure everyone is hitting the like button. I haven't even been able to check and see what kind of likes we got going on. Make sure everyone checking out the great content on the network. Myself, the Fins Tailgate. You got Lewis, the Rabid Dolphin. You got color commentary. You got Dolphins DTA debriefs. You got Late Night Exhale with Ali and the Broken Takes. Cash App, Venmo, the Fins Tailgate help support the channel. Great way to support the channel. Also, always support by becoming a member, guys. Go to the homepage, hit the join button, become a member of the Fins Tailgate. And super chats, always welcome. Great way to get your questions in for guys for tonight's show. Would be a great show to get a question in because I'm not really keeping too much of an eye on chat. Also, link in the description for our great friends over at Fanatics. Make sure you guys are hitting those links and checking it out. Pick up your officially licensed gear for all sports. You also got link in the description for our gear. Check it out. We got some new stuff coming down the pipe. Can't wait for everybody to check that out. There's another link in there for Doobie Energy. You need some energy. Doobie the way you finna be. Thank you. Check out Doobie. Link in the description. You guys can see what all their products are like. I think they got like 10% or 15% off on an offer code from us. You'll have to check it out. And then our friends over at Backroom Collections, use offer code TFTG to receive 10% off of all of your purchases. Thank you. Hit the like button, guys. Get those likes up. Make sure you guys are, getting the likes up. Where are we at in likes? Oh yeah, we're doing all right. We're like almost all the way there. We're at like 60 likes. Get the likes up. So anyhow, if there a lot of these guys that I think Dolphin fans would be okay taking with the second pick, if they're gone because they went in the first, that usually results in someone else falling right in your lap. That's how, one of these tight ends, maybe they're willing to be all about the O linemen. Maybe the Dolphins finally take a running back. I don't see that happening. I don't see the Dolphins taking a running back till maybe in that third round pick, or maybe they trade that third round pick back to get into the fourth or fifth round and do that.
I could see that, but they have 2 third-round picks, so it depends, what they do with that. But I'm going to give you a guy that you can ask Brian about. It's not a sexy pick with the second-round pick, but it fixes 2 positions on that O-line. And I like that. And center, right? You get a guy, if a guy drops like Luke Weipler from Ohio State, who Ohio State puts out NFL-ready centers all the time. They've been doing it for years.
That ain't no lie. And usually those guys play at least 3 or 4 years at Ohio State a lot of the times. What is he, a junior or senior?
Give me a second. I can tell you in a moment. He is a junior. He was a junior this past season. So you go look at him. They're already saying he's a starting NFL center, no problem. You put him at center, you move Connor Williams over to left guard, you got 3/4 of your offensive line already fixed. You just got to worry about right tackle.
You only got one position now to figure out, is the right tackle position. And, you still have Eichenberg and Jackson, plus guys like Shell that have played well. and what's his name? The dude we had for the playoff game. You should be able to figure out which one of these guys is your right tackle. If you can't figure it out with those other 4 dudes, then we got serious problems.
That's 100%. But anyway, Captain, thanks for having me. I gotta actually step away. I gotta take care of family stuff.
No problem, buddy. I appreciate it, man. I'll see you, Ali. Some broken takes coming out soon.
Soon,
Are we?
yeah. And probably in the next 3 days, I'm gonna have another episode out. But anyway, thank you all. Fins up. Make sure you hit like and subscribe. And I'll see you next time. Thank you.
All right. See you, Ali. All right, come here, dude. Come on. I know my dog's been bothering the hell out of me this whole he's been driving me nuts. He wants me to give him some attention. So yeah, Ali had to dip, but that's okay. Ali made a good point. Dolphins with that second pick, they go center. They take the kid from Ohio State, falls to him. They take that center, and it cures two and potentially all positions with the offensive line. If they kick Connor Williams back out the left guard, now they only have one position to figure out with guys that are already currently on the roster, right tackle.
You guys read my mind while I was gone, not with the player specifically, even though I like Luke Weipler.
Mm-hmm.
There are 2 players that I am in love with here at the center position, and they're my 2 top players on offense that the Dolphins have a realistic chance to draft. One is John Michael Schmitz from Minnesota. Not sure if you guys talked about him.
We did not.
He went down to the Senior Bowl and was universally regarded as the best player there. And
really,
when you want to look at something that's really important for a Mike McDaniel offense, and that is mobility in a center. This guy has it. He has hand technique. He is phenomenal. I expect him to go somewhere in the first 2 rounds. I could see him falling to the Dolphins at 51, because if Creed Humphrey a couple of years ago could fall to 63, John Michael Schmitz can fall to 51. Somebody I might even like more than him is Wisconsin center Joe Tippmann. He is somebody who at 6'6", 311 does not get moved at the point of attack. And I think
I'd say
his athleticism is underrated. So, and I'm with you guys. What you were saying too is that, and it kind of goes back to what we were talking about on defense, is if you can get a strong safety and improve 2 positions at once, by having Brandon Jones as that third safety or linebacker, that makes everything better. And so if we're trying to get our best 5 players on the field, if you have John Michael Schmitz at center, Connor Williams at left guard, Teron Armstead at left tackle, Robert Hunt at right guard, and you got a big
insert somebody to figure out that right tackle.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you got Jackson, you got Eichenberg, you got Shell, you got the dude that was in the playoffs. One of these guys has got to get it figured out, you know?
Yeah. And it might be a break glass in case of emergency situation with Robert Hunt in that scenario. You know,
I don't know why they keep trying to not put that man at right tackle and just have Eichenberg play right guard. It seems like the right move, and just let Jackson be the swing guy, take the loss, take the L. Unless Jackson comes out and he's just a monster for some reason, the year off, getting healthier, all this stuff. I know he had the injury and stuff, but he just comes back as an animal. That would be great, but I can't hang my hat on that.
I'll tell you a very unpopular opinion in the Dolphins community, offensive line. I don't think Brandon Shell was that bad that last year. I mean,
I didn't think so either. I thought he did decent.
I mean, he wasn't great, but you're talking about somebody who has never made more than $3 million in his career and was pulled off the street and was, 29 years old.
Yeah.
And he'll be 30 next year. You bring him back for $1 or $2 million. I mean, a year.
Smart, savvy move.
I think that's a no-brainer. I mean, we've seen at the right tackle spot how that position can ruin a season. I mean, you're talking about, we go back to Jonathan Martin and Tyson Clabo and Jesse Davis and Austin Jackson for a couple. I mean, it's a no-brainer to bring back Brandon Shell for a couple of million a year.
Yeah, especially because, listen, these guys get injured. The big uglies up front. even as a guy to plug in for when Terran goes down, for giving him a shot at right tackle, having him as the swing guy, as break glass in case of emergency. I don't see how they don't bring him back. Now, if they draft somebody at that second pick and they have him there and he doesn't make the cut, then all right, we understand why. But until then, I'm not gonna waste that. What other guys? What about like tight end? Do you think this Washington kid slides out of the first round? Do you think someone takes him in the first round?
This is a really interesting year at tight end because I've always said that Durham Smythe is somebody that in an offense like this, where Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are the superstars, I'm fine with Durham Smythe. I'm surprised by all the support to cut him for just $3.5 million a year. I think he's a
Oh,
good
no way,
player.
dude. You do not let a guy like Smythe. First of all, I think he only got like 20, 21 targets last year and he caught like 18 of them or something. Something
Yeah.
ridiculous. He's like 80% catching anything thrown his way. He's always made plays. He's not dynamic. We get that, but he always now we've seen him whiff, but that happens to the best of us. Um, he's a good tight end, bro. He's worth every penny I think we're paying this guy.
Yeah. And, I can't remember exactly who or which Dolphins journalists suggested that. And I know Kyle Krabs, who I'm a big fan of for the Lockdown Dolphins podcast, he's wanted that to happen too. And I'm really surprised because somebody who gets 500-600 snaps a year, and I thought he was underutilized. To me, Durham Smythe and Alec Ingold need to catch more passes next year, not fewer.
I agree. I agree with that wholeheartedly because he's a big boy. He can break tackles. I've seen him do it. He's not beating anyone in a race, but he ain't going down because you want him to. You know what I'm saying? He's a big dude. He's strong. I like and he's got soft hands. He's got super soft hands. He catches everything that comes to him. I do know Dolphin fans. The thing is, like, okay, if Hunter Long showed up at this point and that was then the conversation, then all right, then okay, it's time for Hunter Long to be the guy. They like what they have in Tanner Connor. I think he has some abilities. What they plan to tap into, I don't know. I know the kid's super fast for his size, which, hey, make it work. I don't care. But Dolphin fans unanimously are enamored with the kid from Georgia, and it's hard not to be. He's
Yeah.
amazing. He's amazing.
And that's the thing, is that I headed into this draft process totally fine with the tight end position, given how the offense looked. Like if you went in with Durham Smythe cheap, Hunter Long cheap, and Tanner Connor is your developmental third tight end, I'd be fine with that. They cut Ethan Carter the other day. Good move. But yeah, the tight end position is so stacked in this draft. And
It
Michael
really
Mayer
is.
from Notre Dame is going to go somewhere probably in the first round, may fall to the second. He's that big 6'7", 270 inline blocking tight end. My favorite tight end in this draft is actually Dalton Kincaid from Utah. I mean, I
He's a
expect
monster.
him, and I'll tell you, I think he's going to go above Michael Mayer. I really do.
Really.
His ability, because he is a really good, he's only 6'4", 240. So Mayer is 6'7", 270. But his movement skills are special at the tight end spot. So he'll
What about
go
like late round flyer guys? Because it's such a stacked tight end group. You think the Dolphins take the Will Mallory from the U? Take a flyer on him late, maybe the 6th round, maybe falls all the way to the 6th because of how stacked it is. Oh, geez.
Anybody who is 6'6", 250 pounds and runs a 4.54 and has played a lot of college football, I'm 100% in on.
Yeah, he's got talent. He can catch. He's not really a great blocker, but
the question becomes on that is, what's the difference between him and Tanner Connor? Mallory may be way better.
I mean, he did kind of have a little bit of a down year. The year before, he was a lot better. Um, I don't know. I guess that would just be in their scouting department for what they would want. You know what I'm saying?
Now, given that, as far as tight end and how deep it is, when you're talking about Mayer and Kincaid and Luke Musgrave from Oregon State, who's probably going to go in the first 2 rounds, who's very similar to Mike Gesicki, Darnell Washington, who you alluded to and we haven't even talked about yet. There are 4 or 5 other tight ends after that. And then Will Mallory, he is the consensus 10th or 11th tight end in this class. And in any other class here, he could be a 3rd-round pick, but he might end up falling to the 5th or 6th round because of how deep the class is.
It's crazy to even think that, man. You know, I mean, tight ends. Well, it's a weird position. Sometimes in the NFL, it seems like one of the most impactful positions. Other times, you're like, you know, they're just blocking guys and stuff like that. And we do know the San Francisco deal. You know, it's no different than how they use him over there with what's his face. You know,
Yeah,
he had all
George.
them catches early in his career, but now they have him doing a lot of the blocking downfield. He still makes great catches and still has decent enough numbers, but he hasn't become so much the feature weapon. But I don't know. I guess it'd be interesting to see what Mike McDaniel does with one of those 3rd-round picks. I think he goes running back if
It's
he
a
could have his
hard
way.
to figure out position because if you want proof of that, take a look at all the tight ends that have been drafted in the last 10 years in the 1st round. It is not a high success rate.
No,
I
it's
mean,
not. And there's definitely only one. There's never been 2. I mean, maybe there has. I can't remember when 2 tight ends went in the 1st round. But look no further than where Kyle Pitts just got picked. And don't get me wrong, kid is amazing, but didn't pay out. But it's not like they had a quarterback. I think I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to
because
say.
the big thing is any tight end that's drafted here for the Dolphins, anywhere in the draft, is going to have to learn to play offensive line and receiver in a very complicated offense.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
you know, and that's why I probably would sheer away from it. But man, I love those top 4 guys. You know, that's where I get confused on it because Michael Mayer has always been projected to be a 1st-round pick from Notre Dame, and then Dalton Kincaid is my favorite guy because he can move so well and he has that ability to block, but also create separation very, very quickly in a Travis Kelce type of way. Luke Musgrave, if you're looking for somebody who is a better blocking version of Mike Gesicki, but can't make the Mike Gesicki catches, that's what he projects to right now. Darnell Washington is the interesting guy because I've never been big on guys who are 6'7", 270 and can just block really well. But 6'4", or excuse me, he ran a 4.6 40.
Yeah, it was
And
ridiculous.
his length is like the plays that he projects to be able to make if you can get him right.
And man, that kid's a gamer too, bro. He shows up in big moments late in games. You're like, damn, coach streaking downfield. He's pretty good. But man, Georgia had 3 great tight ends over there, it seemed like at sometimes.
Yeah, and I'll give you a name too. I'll give you a name that nobody will remember. It's Leonard Pope from about 10 years ago. He was 6'8", 270. He played on the national stage all the time. He was a great blocker in college, and he turned into nothing. And I'm not saying Washington is going to turn into that, but there is such a thin line at the tight end position between, he's going to be a 6th offensive lineman and a great tight end threat in the NFL. And, well, he's just an okay blocker, and he's impressive for his size, and that's it. He's going to catch 25 passes for, 300 yards every year.
The reality is with the 2nd-round pick and shit, even with those thirds, the Dolphins aren't in no position to be picking tight ends. Let's be real. They're really not. I mean, I guess if somebody they fell in love with dropped to them, but with the needs on defense, they don't have any running backs on the roster right now. So Got to do something. I mean, I guess they do. They don't have. I mean, don't they have? No, they don't have any running backs on the roster. They don't even have anybody on like a.
Yeah, so yeah, they really don't. I mean, it's you can get Mostert and Jeff Wilson back for cheap.
Yeah, obviously,
Um,
but how cheap
it's
and what do they want
Savon
to spend?
Ahmed is a restricted free agent. I think you can get Mostert and Wilson back for cheap. I don't think you can get both of them back. To be honest, and it would. I mean, are you going to pay each of them $4 million a year to come back and platoon with each other? Probably not. If that's what
No.
they're asking for, running back is a position that for veterans, I'm not
Dime a
interested in
dozen.
paying for. The
They're a
only
dime a
reason I'm
dozen.
interested in paying for it for Mostert is because he ran for 5 yards a carry last year. He was a kick returner. He wasn't great at it, but he was okay. He's a veteran. He check marks a lot of boxes for $3 million a year. Jeff Wilson, I don't think I can't get there with him. I would rather
I know
just
what
let
you're
him
saying,
walk.
but then at the same time, does Raheem Mostert regress? A little bit older, has those prior injuries and stuff like that. How much of a regression, and can Jeff Wilson progress? You know what I'm saying? He's still a younger guy. Can he get a little bit better? I don't know. I guess if you were gonna splitting hairs, I agree with you with Raheem Mostert, especially for his speed that he still possesses and having dual roles. But if it's not for 1 year and say it's like a 2-year deal or something like that, and you get it super low and you spread the money in a way that's conducive to cap, I would probably go the Jeff Wilson route, because 2 years with Mostert, I just feel like you're gonna regret that. I don't know if it's this year or next year. You're just gonna regret one of it. You're gonna regret it.
Yeah, I just have no respect for veteran running backs.
I don't
I really
listen.
don't.
The Dolphins have done this to us. It's not our fault. You know what I'm saying? We haven't respected running backs around here for a long time. Everybody knows you pay a running back. Any of these teams that pay running backs, it's not just Dolphins, it's the NFL. By year 3 of the contract, they're trying to get rid of that guy. They're always trying putting money and funds into the running back position needs to be done in a rebuild. It needs to be done with a rookie quarterback, stuff like that. It's not really the position you want to do where we sit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just not.
I think it's a young man's position. And
Yes.
when you look at who Ali was in love with here, Jahmyr Gibbs, who I am too. I don't think he's going to be taking over Bijan Robinson, but you're talking about somebody that is so skilled at not only running the ball but catching it too, and that's a asset that the Dolphins need to have at running back this year. Raheem Mostert would catch dump off passes, turn up field, and take it for 15, 20 yards on occasion. Jeff Wilson wouldn't provide that. Savon Ahmed was useless. And Myles Gaskin, I don't even know what he was doing on the team.
What
last
happened?
year.
What happened to Gaskin?
Yeah, you would think he'd catch a dump off pass every couple of games or so.
Dude, he would murder it in the passing game. What happened, man?
Yeah, I mean, somebody, you remember that Raiders game with the Mac Hollins play?
Yes.
Like he caught a pass for 57 yards, turned it upfield. You can't.
And he's
get a plan for him.
And that wasn't like an outlier. Like you seen that was
Right.
going to end up happening. He was just one tackle away from just breaking these passes, shaking a linebacker, and one of these safeties or, the nickels got to come up and tackle him from behind or something. But it was bound to happen. The kid had great hands. I don't know what happened to him. If they brought him back on the low, maybe he could turn it back up. I don't know, but I don't see.
I think he's going to be an underrated signing for somebody else.
Oh, I agree with you wholeheartedly.
I mean,
he'll end up on like the Seahawks or something weird like that, and he'll get his shot in a rotated back room. And, they'll be like, damn, this guy's amazing. And we'll be seeing, Myles Gaskin. And he's from the Washington area, too. So he'd probably enjoy that. So
here's a stat on Myles Gaskin from the college days. He is one of 2 players in college football history with 1,200 plus rushing yards in each of his 4 years in college.
God, dude.
The other
was
guy was
good.
Ron Dane. So they're
Really?
yeah. And so he has so much tread on his tires.
Yeah.
And I was frustrated with him in 2021 in the passing game, but that's a whole different scenario. But I was always thinking, if they keep Myles Gaskin on the roster, wouldn't you have some sort of plan or some sort of role for him in one game? And I was waiting for it, and it never happened. I just never understood it.
It's almost like I guess just with Mike McDaniel schematically, it's just not what he wanted, I guess. I don't know. He needs a guy needed better pass blocking, and that's a liability, as we know. So
I always expected Gaskin to be traded to the Patriots for a 7th round pick.
God, and then
Because of his ability in the receiving game from what we saw. But
yep.
I'll tell you this. If you want one prediction on the offense, it's this. In the 3rd round, the Dolphins are going to draft Sean Tucker, the running back from Syracuse.
Okay, we have talked a lot about the Syracuse kid. I think he is a perfect scheme. I agree with you. Don't you think the 3rd's a little bit of a reach? Don't you think he would fall further? Now, I know we don't have a pick further. Do you think the Dolphins could trade that 2nd, 3rd rounder back into the 4th and he'll still be there? Because I know after the combine, it seems like he's going up a lot of boards, but I thought that guy was going to be a 4th, 5th rounder. Now I'm hearing him, like you said, in the 3rd. Has he jumped up that much?
No, the Dolphins don't have a 4th or 5th round pick, like you said. So those are the decisions they're going to have to make. And so if you talk about the 2nd, 3rd round pick, I think Sean Tucker is that guy. And I'm not specifically saying there are 5 or 6 other running backs in this draft that I would have over Sean Tucker. But what differentiates him in this scheme is that he's a smart kid and he can take the handoff, plant his foot in the dirt and storm upfield. And that's exactly what Mike McDaniel looks for in the running back position. That's what Kyle Shanahan looks for in the running back position. That's what Mike Shanahan looked for in the running back position. So somebody who can get on the field quickly, one cut and go. You're exactly right.
Yeah, and he's not terrible at pass catching, and he's not terrible at pass blocking. I know he's not the biggest of running backs coming in the class. What is he, 185, 5'10", 5'11", something like that?
Yeah, he's over 200 pounds. So
he is?
Yeah.
Are you sure? I thought he was like 185, 195. No shit, he's over 200?
Yep.
Whoa. Yeah, all right, sign me up. Done. Sold.
Yeah, and I like other running backs more so in this draft so much. Tyjae Spears is somebody that I would take over Sean Tucker. And the reason I say that is because he's also a one-cut running back. And he's also
schematically.
Yes. So I would draw a line here is that my prediction is Sean Tucker is going to be the Dolphins' week 1 running back. Tyjae Spears is the guy that I want here in the 2nd or 3rd round if it's not Jahmyr Gibbs.
You know the Dolphins, how they feel about running backs, though. Next thing you know, we're turning around and we've got 2 UDFAs on the roster. It's just how they get down every friggin' time I turn around. Do you think can Mike McDaniel pound the table hard enough to get Chris Greer to pick a 3rd round running back?
Well, here's kind of a connection of both of the things that you said there is that re-sign Raheem Mostert for $3 million a year, which is great value. And you can head into the draft you can head into the draft here and predictably get a running back with one of those first 3 picks in the 2nd round or one of your 2 3rd rounders. I mean, it's so predictable.
Somebody's going to be there. Somebody's going to be there with one of those 3rd rounders, honestly.
Yeah, and it's not a generic statement because there are so many running backs in this draft. There are 16 or 17 running backs in this draft that are going to go in the first 4 rounds. I mean,
Wow.
you're
Yeah,
talking
I mean,
about
it's
like,
not that big of a stretch
yeah, I mean,
because
you're talking about like, well, I'll stretch it out a little bit and say in the first 5 rounds.
okay,
So,
all right.
I mean, yeah, I hate to get the list out here, but shit.
Here we go. Cracking open the list. I
Yeah,
listen. I know Dolphin fans, myself included. I think we've been waiting, not waiting, but we always look at the running back position every year. We know how we see it every year in the NFL. One of these mid-round running backs is on everybody's starting fantasy roster. He's making plays. He's killing it. He's crushing it. It would just be so awesome if we had one with the weapons we have out of the receiving core and having Alec Ingold out there too. I mean, it'd be really nice if we had that extra dynamic in this offense.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, I'm on the list here. I'm a little bit behind, but yeah, I mean, Zach Charbonnet from UCLA, for example. I mean, this is somebody who's going to be a Jordan Howard type of pick in the 3rd or 4th round. I mean,
Hmm.
somebody who's should have gone in the draft last year, but you know, or came back, ran for 1,300 yards this past year, foolishly because he should have just gone in the draft last year.
Yeah, it could have
Zach,
saved that.
yeah, Zach Evans from Virginia Tech, who's somebody who's a one-cut runner too.
Yeah, I like Zach Evans. I
Yeah,
like him. I could see him. I guess, man, because of just needing to fill out younger talent, they got to trade one of these 3rd rounders. Drop them back. See if they can pick up some of those mid rounds. I don't know. Maybe somebody interesting could be there in the 6th. I just think 4th, 5th round. Okay, obviously 3rd running backs are found there every year that are serviceable, and every so often some of them are really friggin' good. They pop off, especially in the Shanahan scheme that we're running around here. We see it. What's the name of the guy they have over there that they picked in the 5th round? Elijah Campbell. I think it was he the 5th round
yeah,
pick? Yeah,
Elijah Mitchell. Yeah, I mean,
Mitchell. That's right. Yeah.
yeah, he's somebody that I mean, if he's available for a 3rd round pick, that's something an idea I would not be against. I mean, you're talking about the year before, ran for over 1,000 yards, and the only reason that Christian McCaffrey is there is because he got hurt.
That's it.
Um,
He has had
and
injury history though, Campbell.
yeah, yes, he
So
has. Yes,
so
he
that
has.
is a thing. But that's what I'm thinking. Like a 5th round pick, 4th round pick, if they trade back at the 3rd, can the Dolphins find one of those dudes as well? I think so. I think you're right. I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
there's plenty of those types of guys. Those, schematically what we want for the outside zone blocking. They create those running lanes so nicely when it's executed good. The guy gets to the 2nd level, he sets an inside edge. There's another guy going downfield to get, one of these DBs, and it literally looks like a whole, lane going through. And those one-cut running backs, they find that hole and hit it. Before you know it, they're in the 2nd level and everyone's trying to catch them.
right.
It was something I thought we'd see more of last year. We didn't. We did see some of it, but I don't know what to blame on that. I don't know if it was just they wanted super focusing in the passing game for Tua with all the money they spent on Tyreek Hill. I think that had a lot to do with it. It'll behoove the Dolphins to not mess up and get a friggin' running game. It really will. To have
Yeah.
answers, to get a young talent out there, because that extra dynamic in this offense, it's going to help everybody. Quarterback, most importantly.
Yes, and one of my favorite players in the draft too, especially at the running back spot, is Devin Achane from Texas A&M. But my question with him is he disciplined enough as a runner to get the ball and consistently pound the ball inside 200 times a year at 5'9", 185? I'm not sure, but if he was, then you're talking about somebody who is going to be I compare him to CJ Spiller, and I did that a couple of months ago. And PFF also compared him to CJ Spiller too here over the last couple of
Copying
months
your
too.
work again, Brian.
Yep.
The PFFs.
I'm
They
not
do it
saying
every
anything.
year.
I'm not saying
I'll
anything.
say it for you. It's no problem. I've seen them do it to you before.
You know, but because he has such a fast and undisciplined running style.
Yeah.
But if you can fit him inside this defense, I mean, you're talking about CJ Spiller, after he was a first round pick of the Bills, between 2012 and 2014, he got over 500 carries with the Bills and averaged 5.5 yards a carry simply because of that speed. He looks like the same type of dude. Can he do the rest of the things? Can he block? Can he do the rest of the things in the McDaniel offense? That's where
if they pick him with their, one of those third rounders after in the second round getting the center, I could really see some damage happening on offense. But
yes,
would the Dolphins go 2 offensive picks when their first 3 picks when they need help at defense? Maybe. This is the interesting part about the draft. Shit just don't work out the way you thought it was, so you best be prepared to do something else. We sat here and talked about how 2 out of 3 of these picks most certainly were going to be defensive picks. All of a sudden, the board falls in a way, and it's 2 out of 3 picks are offensive picks. And, that's what the free agency's for. You know what I'm saying? That's what you do.
Yeah, I've got in my mind 25 to 30 players who I'm saying right now are not going to be there at 51 after the combine. And then I've got a strong top 15 that would definitely benefit the Miami Dolphins. They're not crazy. It's just stacking the board. And, running back, tight end, cornerback are so full, and those are probably 12 of my 15 players on that board. And then you've got Mozzie Smith, Jack Campbell, John Michael Schmitz, and Joe Tippmann from Wisconsin. Running back, tight end, cornerback are the 3 major positions there.
Man, Brian, this is fun. I think we're going to have to do the offensive one. And I think what we'll do next time on the offensive one, maybe if we got enough time, maybe we'll whip out that draft simulator and maybe we'll just go ahead and, do a little something. See if we can I know you've done the draft simulator. So maybe if we can see where the board falls to us, then we can really put the pressure on ourselves. Say, well, are we going defense on this pick? You know what I'm saying? Because even if the linebacker's there or the D tackle's there that you would always take with the second pick, you're turning around and in the second round there's somebody else that's also on the board that you just can't pass up. You can't pass this person up. That's the great thing, man. It's a real fun time. Brian, I appreciate you coming on, man. We definitely need to schedule the offensive side for certain. What's your Wednesday looking like next week? You want to do it next week on Wednesday?
I've got to take my 2-year-old to the gym, but shoot me a message, and if I can make it, I certainly will.
Okay. All right. We'll definitely do that. If not, I mean, we can schedule it later in the week or maybe what's tomorrow? Well, let's see. Well, we're in March. We got time. We're not going to be up on the draft just yet.
No, we've got a solid 6 or 7 weeks. That's what makes this fun.
Yes. Well, there's going to be signings too. You know that.
So
we could be all about linebacker and turn around and none. We found an answer at linebacker. We got the Dolphins signed Bush. You know what I'm saying? Oh, well, maybe they're not looking about linebackers. Or real quick, we'll do a couple more minutes real quick. Free agent guys, just a tittle tattle touch. What are these free agents you're looking at for the Dolphins to try to get in the building? Right now, they have like 2 or 3 million over the cap after the cuts and projected for the Byron Jones thing. I think we're going to squeeze out anywhere between 35, 38 to upwards of maybe 50 million in restructures. which is cutting it pretty close. I've seen some places people are saying they could hit 60. I'm sure they could. That might not be the best course of action for business, but I don't know. Which free agents would you like the Dolphins to really put in their crosshairs?
Yeah, and if you're gonna
Trey Edmonds?
no, because I'm not big on the linebacker spot. I really am not. I mean, if you're gonna sign Tremaine Edmonds and cut Jerome Baker, um, you're gonna save on Baker $9 million with a post June 1st cut. So I would be okay with that swap out if that were to happen. As far as improving the team, I look at two positions: right tackle and strong safety.
Real quick. If memory serves me correct, Jerome Baker has 0 like guarantees right now. There is some dead cap because of what he's already been paid because he had that restructure. But right now would be a good time for the Dolphins to bring Jerome Baker back to the table and rework his contract, in which case maybe they can even have that optional year added to play with the money and carry dead cap. Trey Edmonds and Jerome Baker as your two linebackers solves everything as far as this 2-year window we're sitting ourselves in. And that even kind of in some instances doesn't really take safety off the board, but it probably prioritizes cornerback off the on the board more than safety, I would imagine. I don't know. I really speculated on that because to me, both those dudes from Buffalo can do so much for you if you signed either one of them as far as how it's gonna help you in your draft board. What do you think?
So this is where I would throw it back at you on that is Tremaine Edmonds is going to require 15 to 20 million a year.
You think he's gonna get that much?
Oh yeah.
I didn't
because
think. Man.
Because and here's why he was 19 when he was drafted.
Yes,
so you're
I
talking
know.
about somebody
Young
who's
guy.
24 years old and
Super
has a unique skill set with length. He's only 25 years old now, or 24, 25 years old now.
Yeah, he's a young guy.
And he's not a complete player. He never was a complete player, but he can get into passing lanes so very quickly. So you have to ask yourself, in a defense that is, are you going to pay Jerome Baker, 10 plus million a year and Tremaine Edmonds almost 20? Can't do it.
It's not going to happen.
So I think in this defense, it's important to be strong at the defensive line spot and to have run stopping linebackers, which are a dime a dozen, quite frankly, and to pour the resources you can into defensive back. I'm in favor of Jordan Poyer. I'm in favor of Juan Thornhill from the Chiefs. I'm in favor of Von Bell. I'm in favor of these types of players. I'm in favor of, even if you're restructuring for somebody, Jamel Dean, the cornerback from the Bucs, who's somebody who's 26 years old, who is a zone cornerback who has elite physical skills. Those are the types of players I'm looking for.
the other safety from the Bengals?
Jesse Bates.
Yes, Bates. Would you, if they were going to restructure and squeeze money and go young at linebacker and got Bates back there? Oh my God, are you kidding me?
I love Jesse Bates, but I think he would overlap too much with Javon Holland because they're both.
The only thing I wonder too, man. I don't know, but if they could figure it out and have that tandem, it would be funny too. You got
I'm not saying no. I'm not saying no on it. I mean,
it's money though. It's gonna be some money
for the right price in a couple of years here, where you have to have elite players. I'm open to all options if they can make it work, and that's the advantage of having Vic Fangio here, because he is somebody who can make those decisions. He's not, we're not talking about somebody who, I was a bigger Josh Boyer fan than other people were. I made no secret about that. But Vic Fangio is a different guy. He's a head coach on defense. That's not what Josh Boyer was.
And I'm not a Josh Boyer hater at any means. I thought he was handcuffed quite a bit when his secondary just started dropping like flies. And that's pretty much his specialty and what he needed the most. You know what I'm saying? It was literally to me, it looked like the Dolphins have a scheme change. They wanted the scheme to change. They asked Boyer to try to change the scheme, and that's what they ended up doing. Because if you notice in the playoff game, it looked a lot more like a Boyer defense in that playoff game than it did in previous games during the season. But they did have injury, and it wasn't the worst defense I've seen around here. But I will take 10 out of 10 times Fangio over Boyer. I think as far as where we sit as an organization, it can't help us any more than what they just did as far as bringing Fangio in. Still got a young head coach. Still got, work to do. All right, Brian, we're going to set up something soon next week if we can. If not, we'll push it to the following week. We're going to get into the offense. You got anything coming out or anything like that? I know everyone needs to follow you on Twitter at Brian Cat NFL. If you guys are wondering what the at Brian Cat right next to his name is and didn't know, now you know. You need to follow him on Twitter. He puts out great, clips. I see you do some your takes on the draft, guys. You got anything coming down the pike?
So yeah, follow me on Brian Cat at Brian Cat NFL. I'm going to be hopping around different podcasts over the next couple of weeks here. I'm trying to solidify myself as a Dolphins draft guru here moving forward.
I think the shoe fits, buddy, because I've been listening for a long time. The in-depth stuff. I know you do ridiculous amount of work on it. And your ratings are always spot on. And in the past, you would pick out guys that are, up and down the board, and they're really good. I've seen you pick some real obscure guys over the years. So, guys, make sure you're following Brian, keeping up to him, and look for him all over the place. You're going to be on some other joints. I can't wait to see. Make sure to tag me in that. I'll share it for you, bud.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for the conversation here today. Really enjoyed it, and look forward to breaking down some offensive players here moving forward.
Yeah, me too. I'll see you later, Brian. Take it easy, man. So that'll conclude the Fins tailgate. Brian, dude, Brian's a solid guy, in case you guys didn't know. Extensive draft knowledge, way more than me. I make no bones about it. There's certain draft guys I know more about, but I'm not really delving and pulling back every little bit of layer. Not just yet, anyhow. As we get closer to the draft, I will. But I always lean on, guys around me and the information I've been taking in. And I've been listening to Brian when he was with Finside the NFL not Finside, on the Finside, excuse me. Ooh. When he was on the Finside for a long time on his draft takes, and just such an astute guy, well read with it, and certainly has all the information, dude. So make sure you guys check him out. You see him around, say hi to him, tell him if you guys catch him on another YouTube or another podcast, make sure to tell him to say hi from TFTG and you guys liked him over here. And make sure you guys are hitting the like button on your way out, subscribing if you guys are new, and make sure to catch us next time here on the Vince Tailgate. Thank you.